Hey everybody, welcome to my January 2025 productivity report. As you can see, we are outside for the first time in a long time. That's gonna happen. And but hopefully the view is gonna make up for it. I really didn't want to be inside this month. And you might wonder where I am. Well, I'm actually up in Himalayas on the border to Kashmir in India. So you got the mountain range over there all the way, and it's really nice weather today. A little chilly, but rather than being inside in a dingy corner, I thought I'd be outside. We'll see how it goes, if we can make it all the way or not. What's India without a little noise, right? So let's jump right into January's productivity report. Where do I start? January was a little rough. Not like December, but still. But I got through it just fine. And I think the year is going to be really great. I have a lot of things going on and a lot of new projects that I'm excited about. So I think we're off to a good start despite some hiccups here and there. So first, every year I set a new intention for the year, and for this year my word is connection. I want to connect better with my audience, that means you, with my collaborators, my clients, myself, the world at large, in all types of ways through expression. Last year my word was expression, and I feel like I really started to move towards that and get into that, and I was really happy with the outcome. So this year I'm putting connection and I'm putting expression together, and it's going to be really great. We're going to take it up a notch, I think. So because in January we tend to talk about goal setting, New Year's resolutions, all of that, I thought it'd be a really good time to actually talk about that. And so this month's message is: an intention is not the same as a vision statement, and a vision statement is not the same as a resolution, right? So I thought I would clear those things up so that it's, understood, and even for myself to clarify and make sure that I have everything as intended. It's good to review these things sometimes. So let's talk about what is a resolution and how do you make one? How do you set a good one? Well, a resolution is only one step towards actually meeting your goals. Some people like to think of it as the goal itself, and that's not true. So we often make resolutions for ourselves, but we don't make them the right way. We say things like, I want to become fluent in another language. I want to lose 50 pounds, and I want to make $1 million this year. And if you say that, then what you have to understand is that you're just listing the totality of your dreams, and you're really answering the question, what do I need? What do I want in order for my life to be perfect? That's not a resolution. That's a vision statement. That means, what do I ultimately want in life, right? It's a massive life overhaul. It's not a small thing. And that's where a lot of people go wrong, right? They make it too big and it's too overwhelming. And a resolution, in my opinion, it's not synonymous with a goal. It is actually a promise to yourself to fulfill a goal, right? So for the vision statement that I just mentioned, I want to become fluent in another language, I want to lose 50 pounds, and I want to make $1 million. Great vision statement. But in order for us to move towards that, we actually have to do more to it. We can't just say that we have that as a goal, right? We have to take action towards that goal. And in order for us to take action towards that goal, we actually have to break it down. And our words actually have to mean something, and then we have to get a resolution in place. So all of this goes hand in hand. So I'm going to break it down and see if I can show you how to approach all of this, or at least how I approach all of this. So step one is to take that vision statement and actually turn your dreams into actual goals. And for us to do that, we have to just break it down so that you can follow through on them. When you have a large vision statement, there's likely multiple projects in there. So for this example, there's actually 3 in there, right? Become fluent in another language, lose 50 pounds, make $1 million. Those are 3 separate goals. And we have to make sure that we treat them as separate goals and not just one giant goal, because it would all be too overwhelming. So then, once we have separated those goals out, we actually have to break them down even further and see what's long-term versus what's short-term. So if you say, I want to make $1 million, that's great. Can you do that in a year? Probably, yeah, but it's very difficult. Same thing with learn a new language, you know? If you want to be fluent in a new language, can you do it in a year? You could, but it would probably require full immersion. Like if I actually moved here and lived here for a full year, I could probably become fluent in Hindi, right? Once a week is not going to cut it. So we have to think about the goal that we have in front of us. Is it a long-term goal that's going to require more time than a year, or is it a short-term goal that we can actually accomplish within that time frame? So we have to understand if we can actually achieve it within a year, if it's actually feasible. In some cases, yes, in some cases, no, but it takes a different amount of energy, right, and resources. So then, once we understand if it is long-term or short-term, we have to break it down even more. My clients will kind of chuckle at me when I say that because they never break it down enough. There is no such thing as breaking a goal down too much. The more you do it, the easier actually it becomes to achieve. So I keep saying that. And the reason we do that is because then we understand what resources we need in order to achieve them. And by resources, I mean time, money, energy, and so on, right? It could be labor if you're running a physical, bed and breakfast, for example. It could be just your energy, or money if you're trying to take lessons for something. So you have to understand and be mindful of how you're going to spend your resources. In most cases, because we have limited resources available to us, we are more better off to focus on one goal at a time. If you have a lot of project management experience, and if you have a lot of resources, like for example, a ton of energy, a ton of staff members or team members, if you have a lot of time on your hands, then you can do more, right? But if you have limited time, limited money, no staff, no help, you're going to be much more limited in what you can actually accomplish, right? So it's really important that we actually align our resources with what we're trying to achieve. Then, once we are done with that, and we have broken down our goals, we have focused on one, we have narrowed it down, we have allocated resources, now we have to understand how are we going to track our progress? How are we going to check in on milestones? Because if you do not track your progress, you are going to be off course very fast. Okay, so checking in once is not enough. I believe I talked about that in last month's productivity report. We can't just check in with what we're going to do at the start of the year and then at the end of the year check in on how it went. It's not going to be enough. We have to have milestones throughout to see how we're doing and to be able to course correct if we need to. And I often liken this to, driving to a new part of town, right? If you know where you're going and you have the vehicle, meaning the resource to get there, that's great, but you still need to understand where to turn. And if you're just sort of trying to navigate by heart, could you make it? Sure, but it's going to be a lot harder. If you actually have a map, and then, or an app or whatever, that tells you, take a left here, take a right here, it's going to be a lot easier. And that's the function of a milestone, right? It's going to tell you, hey, you're off course, time to turn. And that's why we put that in place. It also helps you understand if you have to speed up or slow down, right? How quickly do we need to get there? Do we need to make it by noon? Well, we got to speed up because it's already 11:30, right? Or do we have plenty of time? Can we take it easy and take a stop and pause here? So we have to understand and we have to use the tools that are available to us in order to meet our goals. Then, when you have all of those things in place, then it's time to commit. And that is where your resolution comes into play. That is where you make that promise to yourself. I'm ready. I understand what I need to do. I understand my goal. I understand how to get there. I have the resources in place. Now I'm ready to take action. And that's when consistency becomes easy, because you have actually set yourself up to succeed. You have done everything you can to prepare, and then the the rest sort of becomes easy. It's when you don't have resources in place, is when you haven't allocated your time, when you haven't invested, when you haven't figured out what you need to do, that's when achieving your goals becomes a lot harder. So I hope that helps to hear. Again, I have a bigger breakdown of this in the blog post, so make sure that you jump over to theswedishorganizer.com and look up this productivity report there and read exactly how I do this, and hopefully that's helpful to you. So with that, let's jump into how I did this month, and we'll start with how productive I was in January. So first, I want to say that I definitely felt the repercussions of overworking in December. So if you read December's report, you know that I basically redid my entire course, one of my courses, DPO Pro. I rewrote it, re-recorded it, and knocked it out in just about 2 weeks. And it is a massive course. So that really took a toll on me. But again, it was a conscious decision. It was the time to do that. And I got it done. So I was super relieved. But because of that, January was I felt a bit fatigued, and I still had to go into the launch of it, which happened during the first 2 weeks in January. So it was a bit intense, but then I made up for it in the last 2 weeks of January and took it a little slower there. On top of that, it's Go month in the productivity industry. Go stands for Get Organized. So again, we're talking to all of our clients about resolutions and goal setting and helping them get on the right track for the coming year. So, January is always sort of an intense month, and I definitely felt that. In January, I completed 5 projects. And for all of 2025, I'm going to stick with my goal of 3. So I was over by 2. And the reason I stick with 3 is because that's just my sweet spot. It gives me breathing room. Again, lets me allocate my resources properly, my time, my energy, and I can either do 2 big projects and 1 small one, 2 small one and a big one, depending on how I feel. It just seems to be a sweet spot for me. So I'm going to stick with 3 for 2025, and I still tend to go over every month, which is something that I actually can do and like to do when I have the bandwidth for it. But 3 still keeps me on track and moves everything along in a very nice way. So we're off to a good start. My favorite project in January 2025 was to launch a membership for my course, The Organizing Formula. And it's a free course that I have both in my academy and here on YouTube. And it's just sort of a primer for what organizing is all about, how to think about systems, how to think about your projects when you're starting to get into this. And it's been a very popular course for many years now. I decided to make it into a video course last year, so I did that. I released it still for free. But what we heard from so many is that, I would love to ask you questions, and I would love to get your input on my project and this and that. And as much as I'd love to support my students for free forever, that is not a winning business model. And so we did launch a monthly membership over in our community, which is $19 per month. So it's a very affordable way to get feedback from myself and my team of organizers on your organizing projects. So I'll link below if that's of interest to you. If not, I highly still recommend that you take that course. It's just a good primer all around for how to think about systems and operations and making your life a little easier. It was a big season actually for relaunches. So DPO Pro, as I mentioned, also relaunched this month. And then I made a few updates to my systems and operations course for business owners. That's called Creative Systems Architect. So it was a lot of excitement, this month. And I'm fairly proud of myself for knocking all of that out. So if you haven't checked out my courses yet, make sure you do that. You can see them all listed at theswedishorganizer.com/courses. So how many hours did I actually work? Well, I worked just over 87 hours, which breaks down to about 21 hours and change per week. And that was a little under, and that was because I took it easy in that last part of January. I have decided to stick to between 24 and 26 hours per week for all of 2025. And that's slightly higher than last year. I think it's because I want to do more marketing this year. I want to do more networking, and I have a few bigger projects that I think are going to require more of my attention, and some cool collaborations coming up and all that. So I think 25, 26 hours or so is going to be a sweet spot for me. Even if I go to 30, not the end of the world. I just want to make sure I keep it under 30. I'm not super strict with the amount of hours, because again, it's the long-term trends that matter here. So as long as I keep it sort of under 30, definitely not over 40 per month, I'm okay. You know, it's when you start to notice that you're going above 40 and 50 and 60 and all of that, then it's like, uh-oh, what's happening here? What's going on? Do we need to add more resources? Again, do I need to hire somebody? What's happening there? But for a long time now, I've been okay, you know, in the mid-20s and or 100 hours or so per month. And again, seems to be a sweet spot for me, so I'm going to try and keep it there. As long as I keep an eye on it, you know, and notice if I go way under or way over, that's totally okay. That's key to do. And it's really just about balance and figuring out how you feel. Some weeks you might work less and feel horrible. Other weeks you might work a lot more, but you had so much energy, you know, so it's like a give and take, and it's not always going to be even. So just keeping an eye on the trend is more than enough. Okay, digital images in January 2025. I captured very few in January. Next month, it's going to be pretty intense. You can see my view here, right? This is just one view. And actually, this is not the best view that I've had this month. So we're going to be up in the thousands next month. For January, however, 579. Probably the smallest number in a very long time. I kept 550 of those photos, so I got rid of a little bit. But yeah, what was the reason for that? Well, I didn't go anywhere, really. I was mostly at home. I kept my head down and did my work and focused on, you know, finishing up and relaunching my courses. And so for that reason, I really wasn't out traveling or out and about much. It was more of a day-to-day kind of a grind. And whatever I did do, you know, it didn't really warrant any new pictures, but I'm making up for it more than enough this month. We did go to Wisconsin, though. I took my friend, my daughter and her friend to Mount Wilmot in Wisconsin. We went snow tubing and all of that, so that was fun. So those were my favorite memories from January. It was very cold. Not like the Himalayas, but still. I think this upcoming year, I'm going to be traveling a lot. I have quite a few countries. In fact, before I even come back home to the US, I still have like 3 or 4 countries to go to. So it's going to be a hot minute before I get back home. And so there's going to be a lot of memories to make, a lot of videos, and I've actually been thinking about moving systems. So for the past 20 years or so, ever since I was a photographer, I have used Adobe Lightroom Classic to organize my photos, and I've kept sort of my catalog on my computer with a drive full of media. And what's happening now is that because I'm moving around so much, is that I need to be very cloud-based with a lot of it. Not everything, not the backlog archive, but there's still a lot of TBs that are moving with me a lot. So I may have to reconsider my approach here. I'm wondering if I should just move over to Apple Photos permanently instead of having that as a transition system. But again, I would have to pay about $50-$60 a month for iCloud in order to fit everything that I need to fit. So I'm still Not sure if I'm going to make that move. I probably will do it slowly and transition. But yeah, as a photo organizer, it's kind of fun when you get to work with your own systems and not just teach others. So eventually I'll probably integrate the entire backlog archive somewhere. For now, I think I'll keep it separate. Starting in 2025, I'll use Apple Photos going forward, and probably Adobe Lightroom Classic, just keeping that backlog intact and backed up. We'll see how it goes. I'll keep you updated and posted on how that goes. And I'll just mention, if you're interested in either of those programs or Photo Mechanic, I teach all three of those in DPO Pro, my photo organizing masterclass. So again, I'll put the link for you below if you're interested in learning how to manage your photos better. Believe me, nowadays you need to, especially if you travel like I do and take so many photos. Even with videos, it's a lot to handle. I just talked with my brother-in-law. He loves drone photography and all of that stuff, and the amount of TBs that it eats up nowadays is staggering. So we all need to be good at managing our memories. Let's move on to steps walked. So in January, I walked 115,603 measured steps, which is just about 3,700 or so per day. Again, my goal has been 5,000, so not great. And again, I can attribute that to the weather in Chicago. It would have been a good result had we talked about this 2 years ago, but considering where I am today, it is atrocious. And I should have been more on top of that. Again, it was me being too much in front of the computer and not checking in often enough. So again, we're back to, circling back to the whole idea of measuring progress. I definitely did not keep up on that, put that to the side because of everything else that was going on. And so you can see that the goal suffered there. Last year, I created a home gym, and I do have a rower down there, and I have a treadmill and all of that. And it's working, it's just not motivating enough. So again, we're going back to tweaking here and trying to figure out how I'm gonna stay on top of that goal. So I'm gonna keep my step goal for 2025 to 5,000 steps per month, because again, it's too much hit or miss, and I wanna make sure that I'm well beyond 5,000 steps, sort of in an obvious way, before I move the goalpost. So stay tuned to see how I do in this upcoming year. Now for a new goal. So I retired my home cooked meal goal in December. So go back and watch that if you haven't seen me talk about that. For a long time, we were eating out way too much convenience meals, spending too much money on that. And that's something that we really wanted to change. And we did. And it took us about 2 years or so, but we moved from about 30% of home cooked meals to 85% home cooked meals. And so I was able to finally let that goal go in December. So now I had a slot open for a new goal. So, drum roll please, my new goal is a language goal. So I've named it language progress because I want to make it a flexible goal. I want to make it an easy and fun and lighthearted goal that I still make progress towards. It's not going to be a fixed, I have to be fluent in this language by X date. No, it's going to be a flexible, I want to improve over time kind of goal. So I've named it language progress. Languages have always been important to me. I love learning languages. I love communicating with people in their own language. And, my international friends know that if I hang out with them, I try. I'm a dual citizen international human, and so this goal is really appropriate for me. I am fluent in several languages already. Obviously, my native language is Swedish. I speak English, as you can hear, Danish, Norwegian. I can hold a decent conversation in Spanish, French, and German. And I can handle a tiny bit of Portuguese, some Hindi, Italian. So, I'm not a hopeless case here, but vocabulary is something I want to improve. Grammar, I'm very good at, actually. So if you give me an actual word, a verb, for example, I can conjugate that verb in most languages. I know how to do that. However, I need to know the verb in order to do that. And sometimes when I hear people talk or they talk to me, I understand what they're saying. I know what the conversation is. I just sometimes don't have the words to respond. And that is something that I would like to improve. So to keep moving forward, I've made a language progress goal. So what I'm going to do is learn at least 50 new words in any given language of my choosing per month. So that's the goal. And in January, I learned 26 new words in French, starting with French because I have a lot of friends and collaborators now who speak French, and I feel like if we're all in a group, they shouldn't have to navigate around me, in order to move that conversation. I should be adjusting to them. So for the first quarter, I have gone to French. I'm also going to work on my Hindi, my Arabic, and my Spanish. So this language progress goal is going to be fun to follow, I hope, this year. Quarter one will definitely be French. And then we'll see which one I go to next. For books and learning, I listened to the audio version of Contagious, Why Things Catch On by Jonah Berger. And this is not the first time I've actually picked up that book, or listened to that book, I should say. It's a really good book if you're interested in marketing at all. And I love marketing, so I wanted to hear it again. He talks about why certain products and ideas and marketing strategies actually work and catch on fast, and why some don't. So it's a really good read if you're into marketing on any level. If you're a solopreneur, I highly recommend that you read it. My interest in marketing is very strong, so I always enjoy, a read that gives me a different perception on my marketing strategies and selling. So, again, as an entrepreneur, you have to know how to sell. And this one is a really interesting read. It really is, especially with social media and all of that. So I highly recommend it. I got my version on Audible, and I have the link for you below. But you can probably get that pretty much in any bookstore, at least in the US. So again, that's Contagious, Why Things Catch On by Jonah Berger. I had a lot of meaningful conversations in January, but with friends, colleagues, and family members. I did not do any Fika with Caroline again because of the intensity of my launches and Go Month and all of that. I just didn't have the bandwidth. So that's something that I look forward to picking up again soon. Before that, though, I want to definitely consolidate my mailing list and make sure that the right people get the invitation. There are a fair bit of people on my mailing list that have come from various marketing strategies that did not work, and so I want to make sure I cull my list down again and actually fix that before I start implementing again, because I want to make sure I reach the right people. And that's the thing that happens sometimes when you try new offers and then close those offers and pivot a little bit here and there. It's like sometimes the mailing list gets a little messed up. And I have a great mailing list overall, but I just feel like it needs to be culled again. So yeah. For now, until that project is done, Fika with Caroline is on hold. It will come back, I promise, but bear with me on that. What I can say, though, is that I had some amazing conversations with friends. We shall keep them private, their names. But I finally feel like I have the people I need in my life, which is huge. And I'm just super excited to collaborate with all of them going forward. So, yeah, it was a good month for conversations, for sure. Drastically different from last year. This month, I want to celebrate the fact that I have now successfully pivoted my business back to offering coaching and courses on all types of organizing, including residential organizing. That is something I've been looking forward to for a long time. You see, back when I started my business, I actually did quite a bit of residential organizing. So I was in people's homes and I did basements and closets and kitchens and all of that, and I loved it. The problem was that it didn't fit with my lifestyle. I was traveling way too much, and my clients were like, okay, so when can we finish this project? And I was like, well, when I get back from Sweden or India or wherever, it's going to be about a month or two. And it just didn't work. There were too many breaks, too many big breaks, too many frequent breaks. And it felt very choppy. So I knew I had to fix that. For that reason, I niched very aggressively into digital organizing and photo organizing and remote services only. And I did that for people. However, again, that left me a little bit unfulfilled. I think as creatives, we have to be careful about niching too aggressively because a lot of us are very multi-passionate. And if we do that, that leaves us sort of very unfulfilled. And that is what happened to me. So now that I've started to open it back up, and now that I do online courses and coaching, and I can do that from anywhere, it works again, because now I can help people with those things, but I don't have to be there physically. So I really think that's worth celebrating. The fact that I've figured out a way to still be involved in those types of projects and still have those types of clients, but not have to actually be on location. So I've been able to fold everything back in, and it feels great. I'm way more fulfilled now. And so I feel like it's just full circle, and that's worth highlighting. That's worth celebrating. So again, sometimes, in your business, you may have the right service, but the formatting is weird. It's not quite right. Doesn't mean it's the wrong service. It means something just has to shift. So again, for me, residential organizing is something I love. I'm great at it. I can coach on it. I just can't do it physically in person with you, which is fine. Now that we have Zoom and all this online communication, no problem. So again, the organizing formula now has a membership, and it's only $19 per month. So if you're interested in getting help with your residential organizing projects, check that out. I think it's an extremely affordable way to get input and still move forward with your projects. So hope that is going to catch your attention. For Tea of the Month, we're highlighting Paloma Tea House's White Symphony Tea. And it's one of my favorite teas. It is from Sweden, but you can buy it from Paloma online. They are a great brand, and they have a green version as well that is so good. It's very light and very floral, but still very flavorful. So a lot of white teas are kind of bland. This one is not, and that's why I love it. I love the combination in general of strawberries and rhubarb, and it has that in there. So it's just a dream in a cup every single time. And again, I'm going to link Paloma below. Shout out to Paloma, by the way. They are in all of the major Swedish cities, as well as in Copenhagen. So check them out. And finally, before I wrap up this video, I want to mention again that you have to have your own goals. You're welcome to copy mine if you have the same goals as mine. I highly doubt that you do, though. It's really important that you understand what your goals are in life and in business, that you set them, and that you figure out how to make them work for you. Because again, the only reason I'm sharing all of this is because I want to make everything completely transparent. I want to show you how I set my goals, how I meet my goals, and how I live my goals. I just want to be extremely clear about that and show you how I approach things so that you can maybe pick up some nuggets for yourself on how to get to, everything that you want to get to. You do not have to track the same metrics that I do. Again, my metrics depend on my goals. Your metrics have to depend on your goals. So make sure that you measure what matters and that you take time to analyze your own energy, your resources, everything that you have available to you. Break down your goals. I've given you a bit of guidance on that in this productivity report. I do hope that you go over to the website and read the full report so you get those steps. Maybe write them down for yourself so that you can approach your goals and meet all of those resolutions for next year. So if you have trouble, reach out. We can do a discovery call. I would love to help you with those goals. I do private coaching, and we also have our quarterly planning workshops for any entrepreneur out there who needs help with their business planning. So check that out. It's all on my website at theswedishorganizer.com. Thank you so much for watching this until the end. I hope you have a lovely month. I wish you all the best from the Himalayas, and I will talk to you again in February.